Hi everyone! In this video I'd like to share some thoughts on leveling a hunter in classic WoW or vanilla WoW or whatever you call it. Hunters are considered tier 1 levelers, often hitting server first 60. They are really efficient. And I'd like to add some thoughts into how they can become even more efficient levelers. And please note that for several reasons, the optimal choices for endgame are not necessarily the best choices for leveling. Hunters are ranged, and only as a meme will you hear about the melee hunter. However, there is one very essential thing to know about auto attack and auto shoot. They do not share cooldown. This means that you can rotate between auto shooting one mob tanked by your pet, while you at the same time auto attack another mob which you tank. Now leveling overall consists of 3 big pillars. It depends on how fast you can get from point A to B, basically your movement speed. It depends on how fast you can kill something, which is essentially how much damage you can put out. And how long you have to recover before you start a new fight. Say for example you could burn down one mob very fast but you lost all your mana. This would in the long run be less effective as your downtime would be greater than you killing more mobs slower. It's about finding a balance between damage output and recovering. Now as hunters use mana, you want to use the most mana efficient spell you can and at the same time follow the 5-second rules. The 5-second rule is that every time you cast a spell or an attack that costs mana, it takes 5 seconds until you start regaining mana again. Now keeping these things in mind, I recommend using the following abilities. You use Hunter's Mark because it's cheap and it increases the damage done by ranged attacks. Use Serpent Sting. It's a decent dot with a damage to mana ratio of 1.33 for rank 1 and 2 and 1.6 for rank 3. Now this might increase more for other ranks, but I haven't checked that and this hunter only got rank 3 at this level. And Immolation Trap. This has a 2.1 damage to mana ratio at rank 1. This is a strong damage over time ability, both effective wise and just pure damage wise. You will of course also use auto shot and auto attack, which damage will primarily depend on your weapons. An important part is that stats actually, especially at lower levels, doesn't increase damage done by very much. The most important part is of course weapon damage. This means that you shouldn't assume your melee attacks will be weak. This hunter, which has kinda decent weapons, does 21.2 DPS with auto shot and 24.9 with auto attack. Note that this is against the target which has 0 armor. Now if we were to use both auto attack and auto shoot at the same time, we would increase our DPS output by 24.9, which is more than 100% increase. This is huge. A very basic approach is that you cannot quest faster than you can kill mobs, assuming the quest is about killing mobs. The amount of damage you can put out is a very limiting factor. The same goes for dungeons. To do dungeons effectively, there is a certain minimum amount of mobs which will need to be killed, meaning there is a certain minimum amount of damage which needs to be done. And the faster you can do this damage, the faster you can complete the dungeon. As you use both auto shoot and auto attack, you will need to attack 2 mobs at once. First place your Immolation Trap and do this before combat as you cannot use traps while in combat. Then pull both mobs with Serpent Stings and set your pet to tank the ranged target. Have the melee target run through the Immolation Trap and auto attack it. Then switch to shooting at the ranged target and then go back to milling. Keep rotating like this until they die. Depending on which target that dies first, do what's fitting. Either finish the one your pet is tanking, or put your pet to pull aggro from you so you don't lose more health than you have to do. In order to do this effective, you will need both an auto attack add-on and an auto shoot add-on to keep track of the cooldowns. I have a macro which switches between the mobs you're in combat with and activates either auto attack or auto shoot, making this whole weaving process much easier. I'll have it in the description. Even though you have Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite as melee damage abilities, I'm not sure if their damage is worth the lost mana regeneration. Raptor Strike rank 3 increases the damage done by your next auto attack by about 25, which isn't too much. And Mongoose Bite can only be used after you've dodged an attack. However, with increased aspect of the monkey from the Beast Mastery tree, dodging an attack might be rather common. With the talent, aspect of the monkey will increase your dodge chance to about 18%. And if you choose to take the increased parry chance from the survival tree, you'll be looking at least 9.5% parry chance. Another very important thing to know is that whenever you parry an attack, the remaining cooldown of your auto attack is reduced by about 1.4 seconds. So parry does not only decrease the damage taken, but also increases the damage done. As for what spec to use while leveling, Beast Mastery is still a solid choice. But maybe it could be worth heading down to improved Immolation Trap in the survival tree for a 30% increase on an already strong and effective dot. This is a good example of what I like classic. There is no single best way. There are absolutely the bad ways, but it isn't always obvious which way is the best. There is often much room for being creative and coming up with new ideas and methods for playing your class. I hope you enjoyed this shorter video with a few tips. As always, if you have any comments or ideas on how I could make my videos even better, I'd love to hear them. If there is anything special you will want me to cover, feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time, and thanks for watching.